Hello, welcome to part 2 of basic upholstery tools and materials. In the part 1 I covered mostly the hardware that we use for basic upholstery when we're reupholstering, and in this video I'm going to talk about springs, the fixings that we use, the needles and some thread and why we use them. Now, unfortunately, when I moved and put my materials and my goods into storage, when I unpacked the storage unit, a lot of things were missing. One of those boxes were my springs. I had samples of springs. So I'm going to talk you through the springs using photos. And then we'll go on to cover the other tools. The first springs we're going to look at is the double cone springs. They come in sizes between 3 and 14 inches. You'll usually find these in antique chairs. The gauge of the wire, that's the thickness of the wire, is 8.5 to 12. The lower the gauge, the thicker and stronger the wire. Usually for seats we use 9 to 10 gauge, and for the backs 12 to 13 gauge. These rather old photos of a chair that I reupholstered will give you an idea of how the springs sit, and in the next photos you can see a chair that I upholstered that had a spring border wire, we call it. It's like an edge that we can put on the front of the chair, and the centre drawing is from an A.A. Milton upholstery supplier catalogue, showing how you can buy these wires. The one on the chair that I upholstered looks a bit wobbly, but I'm sure that's what I did. I probably just replaced the old one. You also can find ready meshed double cone frames inside a chair, and these can be replaced. You can contact an upholstery supplier if you've got the measurements, or what I quite often do, if it's still possible, is contact the manufacturer. They can be quite helpful on many aspects of upholstery, reupholstery as well. We now take a look at the zigzag springs. These come in lengths of about 15 to 32 inches. And they come with compatible clips and nails when you purchase them. Finally, we'll take a look at some tension springs. These can be bare steel or plastic covered. The best thing to do when you strip down a chair is to sit on the seat before you start to reupholster it and just see how they feel. And they might be fine, but if they're really saggy and you're sinking, then you're going to have to get some new ones. You can again contact the chair manufacturer or measure the springs and buy them from an upholstery supplier. There are also other weird and wonderful springing frames or techniques that you'll come across. If you can't replace it, then use one of the techniques that you know. Let's now take a look at some fixings. So the first thing, when you're lashing your springs together, you need this laid cord, and it's imperative for strength and long-term stability of your chair. It's really sturdy. It can be made of jute or hemp, and it's used for tying the springs and then lashing them across and keeping them in place. Next, let's take a look at the stitching twine. Now, it can be jute or nylon, but I've only ever used jute. This is a very old one that we've nearly finished. And this is has come through. It looks a little bit thinner, but it might just be that this is worn and thickened a bit with use. Now, we use these once you've got your springs in place on a chair, and you put the scrim on the top, and then you'll stitch the scrim in place with this. You then start to build up the seat pad with horsehair, and you've got hessian on the top. And again, you use this to fix everything and hold it in place. And then you need to build a hard edge around your seat pad, and this is used with the needle that we'll look at a little bit later. And you make 3 layers of stitching, and you're pulling in and pulling your horsehair or your coir filling towards you to build up this really firm edging. Okay, we also use it for buttoning on a chair or any interior upholstery, internal upholstery that needs a firm fixing. Next we come to the waxed linen thread. All these threads are waxed. It stops them kind of splintering. You know how thread can splinter, pull apart, and it comes in all different colours, which is really useful. And you can probably see it's a little bit thinner than the thread we use internally. This one I picked up at a car boot sale in UK. We have car boot sales, and you can often get old tools. And I think this is what they call carpet thread. Know nothing about carpets or what they would stitch it for, so it's probably quite old, but it's exactly the same. So I thought that might come in useful. The other thing that you use, well, the main thing that you use it for is for top stitching. So if you've put your back cover onto a chair, you've already got the front that comes over, and you want to fix the back to it, and then you have it sort of pinned and pulled together, and then you can just use this thread to top stitch almost invisibly, especially if you've got the right colour. And it can also be used for attaching trimmings to the outside of a chair. Finally, with threads, I wanted to take a look at the thread that I use for machining. Now, it depends to a degree on the thickness of your fabric, how much wear it's going to get. Also on ease of purchase. If you're just making something simple, you're not going to be wanting to buy a whole skein like this. Now, I bought this a long time ago because I used to make covers for the back of pickups, and I did a lot of work for an audio company making the speaker bags for the mixers and all the sound equipment that they had. So that's why I've got quite a lot of these. And I bought it from a company called Oxley Threads that I think is now called Aman. But when I Googled Oxley Thread, it came up with various people that actually sell it. And this really is as strong as you're likely to get. And it comes in different colours. I've only got black. So this really is the hardest wearing. You've then got threads that you can just buy from your local haberdashery store. And if you look here, they're quite thick. You can see, just strong thread. That's all you need. And this, I just picked this one up because it's just an ordinary thread, so that we can maybe just take a look. If I put that across my hand, you can see it's slightly thicker, and I think this one's even thicker still. Okay, so if you can see those differences, and with this ordinary thread I can just snap it, whereas with these, let's see, yeah, I'm gonna cut my fingers before I can pull that apart, and I'm not even going to try that one. Okay, so from a haberdashery store you can get all different colours. You can get different colours in this. For some reason or other, I seem to only have black left. I must have used all the others. Now let's take a look at the pins and needles. When buying needles, good quality needles is better than having an excessive amount, but you'll work it out as you go along what you need. And when you look at this, I've got quite a lot of these little ones. Again, I would have picked those up in a car boot sale very cheaply, and they're just handy to have them, even though I probably never use them. So the boss of all needles is the regulator. Flat on one end with a little hole, and a sharp point, which mine seems to have snapped off, on the other. So we use this for moving the stuffing around when you've made your seat pad and you've covered the horse hair with your hessian, or whether it's in the arms of a chair, you can stick this in and yank the hair or the filling towards you. It's useful for poking in sort of little edges, for smoothing down sides of fabric to get them into a sort of tight crease when you've got your stuffing tightly together, when you've got a seat and an arm of a chair together. It has many other uses, but again, you'll work it out as you go along. But when you're upholstering, always have this near you. The next most important needle that you can buy are these straight mattress needles. Now they have points at either end, and you can get a round pointed one, which I don't have. I've only ever used this one, and I think it might be my second actually. I think I might have snapped one. So it has a hole in one end but points both ends, and this makes it really useful for buttoning because you can just pull through and pull it back. And also this is the needle we use when we're making those hard edges on a seat pad. Push your thread through, move your needle over a bit and pull it back with both of these ends. Yeah, there are other uses as you go along again that you might find this useful for. They come in different lengths, 25, 30, 36 centimeters. As I say, I've only ever used this one. I've not needed a shorter one, but if you have a selection, then you can use them as needed. I have this very small one. Again, these have what we call bayonet ends. Okay, so they're sort of pyramid shaped, triangular shaped ends, and that means they can cut through fabric much better than just a pointed needle was. So this is a very tiny one. It might come in useful. I think I picked that one up in a car boot sale and may or may not have ever used it. Here are some more, and these are quite handy with the curve, because when you're attaching twine to springs or you're lashing onto springs, you can kind of bend around the corner. The semicircular needles, different uses again, but you want good strong ones, and I think I tend to use these mostly for when I'm edge stitching. So I tend to use it with the waxed top stitching twine, and you can really get in those edges because you'd never be able to do that with a straight needle. What else have we got? Right, the pins. When you've got your top cover on, maybe you've tacked or stapled your top cover in place and it's come over to the back and you're putting your back cover on, and then these pins are really useful just to sort of hook it into place before you stitch. Now this is a normal dressmaking length pin, and I never use these. I just can't get on with them, so I always use these longer ones. This one, as you can see, is a lot thinner and they bend, so you want to get yourself some good strong ones, good quality ones, if you're going to use those. Next we have skewers, and I've got 2 lengths, and these work in exactly the same way as the pins would when holding top cover together. They're just, obviously they're longer, so you can hook them in more and they're a bit stronger. A couple of last points. Corks are invaluable for keeping your sharp ends of your needle covered. Okay, and also you may have noticed that some of these, they get a bit worn if they're left and not used, and if they go rusty, they're steel, just sand them. Fine bit of sandpaper, or even not even a fine bit, just enough sandpaper to get that bit of rust off, and they're fine. Okay, I mean you wouldn't want to be putting them through white fabric if you're dragging rust through, but for the insides, that's fine, as long as they're clean. Well, I hope that was all helpful, and in part 3 I'll look at the tacks, different lengths, sizes of tacks, what we use them for, and also different gimp pins and round-headed pins that we use. If you found this video useful, please like, subscribe and hit the bell to be notified when number 3 comes up, and other videos. Thanks for watching and good luck with your projects.